Hello everyone. Today's class we will discuss about transfer of requirements, how it is configured in SAP S/4HANA sales and distribution. So we'll discuss about on this first on the concept and how it is configured in SAP, and then we'll go for the practical view in the SAP itself. Okay. So what is transfer of requirement? Sorry, transfer of requirement, which is ensure. This ensures that the demands are created in the sales and distribution are passed to material requirement planning. So you are transferring this sales requirement, sales order requirement to MRP planning. So MRP planning, what MRP planning will do? So once you transfer to MRP planning, MRP will decide whether this item or this material, whether it is produced inside the plant or produced in some other plant, or it is procured from some other plant, or what are other processes involved. So according to that, it will create the planned order, whether it will be further converted to production order or it is production further converted to purchase requisition and purchase order. So it is based upon the process, and process how it will follow. It will follow from the MRP data from the material. Okay, so material, you have the all the information how it will carry out. So what is the second point? It aligns sales demand with production or the procurement activities. This I covered, already mentioned. Okay, this is crucial for maintaining accurate supply chain visibility. If you maintain this, so all the processes are now automatic. So it gives a clear picture when my raw material can come, when the production can happen, and when I can give the delivery to the customer. So what are the key concepts of for TOR? So for enabling transfer of requirement, you have in SAP defined two things. One is requirement class, another is requirement type. So the requirement class defines how requirements are processed, whether they are relevant to MRP or not. Requirement type is derived from the item category and MRP group. It determines the requirement class. So the requirement class is mapped to requirement type. Requirement type is determined when we create a sales order. It is determined to the sales order, and from the item category and MRP group, this MRP group is mentioned in the material master. So from the material master, MRP group comes, item category comes in the sales order, and through that requirement type is determined. Once the requirement type is determined, requirement class is determined to the sales order as well. So next comes the schedule line category, which is a key driver for the triggering transfer of requirement. Okay, so we'll go to SAP and we'll understand where it is, all these controls are, and how it is triggering the whole process. So the transaction codes which are involved, OBZI, you can see requirement classes, requirement types, and then the maintain schedule line categories. This already we have shown in the last class. So when we have discussed about schedule line categories, MD04, you can see this. You can see the stock requirement list, where we can see the sales order requirement which is created, and VA01, VA02, where you can create the sales order and where the TOR is triggered. Coming to the next SPRO configuration path, where are the paths actually? We'll go for define. So transfer of requirement, where you can define the transfer requirement classes, then requirement type, requirement classes, then requirement types, and then you assign to item category, determine transaction types to using transaction. Okay. Now coming to this, what is the checklist? Transfer of requirement is active in VO V5, VO V6. So to ensure this TOR to work in SAP, so you have to ensure this transfer of requirement is active in schedule line first. Second one is the requirement class is set to relevant for MRP, and check that item category assignment correctly determined intended requirement type, and then you validate MD04. Okay. So these are all about the concepts on the TOR. So what we'll do now, we'll go to SPRO path. I'll show from the beginning. We have SPRO path. We go to sales organization, sales distribution. Go to our basic functions, then availability check and transfer requirements. Then you go to, first you define the class, configure the requirement classes. So you have the standard classes 011, 041, all these are standard definitions. You can do a customization as well. So here you can see this availability check. Okay, you can see this 011, which is coming from the 01 group, availability group is mapped to this one. So here you can see this availability check is enabled, and transfer of requirement is also enabled. So TOR, you have to enable this, then only when you create the sales order, the sales order goes to MRP or it appears in the MD0. 041 is also requirement, this also. So there are other requirement classes like KEB, which is for IPO processes. This sales order determines the KEB as the requirement class, and there are other few standard which we can discuss here. That is make to order. Okay, this also will come across when we discuss about that process. So once here we are doing the configuration, even if it is available for production allocation, sorry, product allocation, so it is there, this also can be enabled. Okay. When we go for product allocation classes, we will discuss about this, how we have to enable. So once this requirement class is defined, you have to go to requirement class is defined, you have to go to requirement type. So configure requirement type. Here you can see this mapping. So this requirement type is mapped to your 01. So 041 is mapped to 041. Even the code is same, but these are different. Functionality is different. So requirement type is different, requirement class is different. So class is holding all these parameter. Requirement type is mapped to determined from the determined through the sales order. So here you can see KE. I was saying about MTO process. So 40 is determined KE. KEB is mapped to KEB. Okay, so these mappings are there. Okay, so first this is mapped. First we define the requirement classes, then we define the requirement type. Here new entries, go to new entries, just create your mapping, and you go to requirement type by item category and MRP type. So here if you see TAN, for standard item category TAN, you have this 041. Okay, for no MRP type, it is 041. Okay, so here, it is 041, and you can see how where it is 011 is triggered. Okay, so it is VM. VM is for the automatic reorder planning point. Okay, so ND, no planning. If it is ND, it is also 041. So let us see for the one which we created. Item category customization we have done. So you can see that when we have done this new item category, so all this from the standard TAN, it is got copied because we copied the TAN item category, sorry, ZTAN category from the TAN. Okay, next comes the next comes the MD04. So how MD04? MD04. So MD04 ZPP1. Active calendar action, but we have not created a sales order which I can show you because we need to we'll cover up other pricing procedure and other functionality we to enable, then we will create the sales order. Okay, so at that in that class, when we create the first time the sales order, we can show the availability check and transfer of requirement, how it is reflecting. Okay, so there may be some calendar issue we will fix. So MD02 is for the planning run. Okay, that's here. Once the sales order is created, here the planning run we do, and we create the production order. Planning planned order is created by automatically by the system, and then here this is the CO09 where you can see this checking rule. So what is, suppose it is A, you can just test here. Availability check. So it is not there, sales order, nothing is created, so it is not showing. But once we BA0 availability, it looks like this. Okay, this scenario, you can see this. You will have the sales order. Here the total record it is showing, maybe availability check is 02, checking rule is A. You can see like this, you will be able to see. Okay, here you can see the item wise, the individual requirements. So you can see this. Okay, this is how the availability check. This is C availability overview, CO09. So for this plan, MA01, MRP area, and the availability check is 02, and the rule is A. So this was the availability overview. So if you see this delivery, Okay, so you can see this delivery also. So from that sales order we created, you can see this delivery. Okay, so the sales order has been already processed for delivery. So the delivery order is created. Here the delivery order. Okay, so this is getting reflected in that. Okay, so you can go to this document flow. Since it is the delivery is not, PGI is not completed, so it is still showing in the stock. So here you can see this outbound delivery is open, still open. Okay, so that's why it is reflecting in. So those, I mean to say that those orders which are not processed, sales orders, open sales orders, it will show in the availability overview. Okay. Okay, that's for today's discussion. So only the let us recall the steps. First is we are creating the defined requirement classes OVZI, and we are creating define the requirement types, and we are mapping also the requirement class into that. And VO-V6 we are enabling the TOR. This TOR and availability check, that also it is enabled in the requirement classes. So these two fields it is should be enabled, and then only this TOR is triggered in the sales order, which will appear in the MD04. This is the process. Okay, thank you. Thanks everyone. Let me know your feedback. In the next class, if you have any doubt, we can discuss. And the next class, we will discuss on the other functionalities like pricing and other determination like shipping point determination, plant determination, storage location determination, batch determination. So we'll come to one by one classes, and we'll understand the process. Once the this functionality we understand, then we'll go for standard order process, how we create, and we'll go for up to billing, and also we'll understand the third party processes IPO subsequently. Thank you everyone. Thanks for your time.